Now, where did I... Ah. Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to look at I Am the Hero, a side-scrolling beat-em-up brawler game from Crazy Ant, who seems to have been mostly mobile game focused in the past and appear to be a Chinese developer. I say appear because I can't really find out that much about this dev, but the actual dialogue in the game definitely would lead you to believe that this is a Chinese-speaking developer and they've just translated their game into English. And by translate, I'm using the word loosely. As a matter of fact, it's so ridiculous, I'm actually inclined to believe it was an intentional choice, that they could have given us a better translation and actually opted for this ridiculous, nonsensical mess of hilarity we actually got. And it is genuinely funny. But should it turn out that this is actually just a bad translation due to a lack of funds or, whatever, I would really like to see a true, proper translation of this game. Even with how hard it is to actually understand what's going on in the game, there's signs of some genuinely funny, crude humor all throughout the game, exactly the kind of stuff that would make me laugh. For example, these three female enemies who are very scantily clad in BDSM leather gear. When you're talking to them, instead of getting just their faces, like you do for literally every other enemy in the game up to this point who speaks to you, you start off by staring at one of their boobs, and then you stare at their butt, and then you stare at their face last. And I found that fucking hilarious. It seems so simple, but I would like to actually see where the rest of this writer's humor went. Regardless, at least the mistranslation, if it is a mistranslation, has all the hilarious, awkward charm of the SNES Japanese and Chinese import games from my youth. The core gameplay is pretty standard fare for these kind of games in my experience. You have three basic types of skills or attacks. You have an energy bar that you can use to perform specials, and combinations of moves can produce different kinds of abilities. You can also unlock things as you move along, both new abilities and new characters. Now, the new characters aren't anything particularly interesting. They're usually whatever the boss fight or mini-boss fights were from the level you just beat, and you get to pick one of them to be kind of your second. If the main hero dies, you jump back in with a secondary character, and you can keep playing. Now, I personally noticed some slight input lag when I was playing. However, that seems to vary from person to person, review to review. So I would honestly take that with a grain of salt. Whether that's just my personal impression, or confirmation bias, or if it's some kind of hardware issue, I honestly don't know. But it is something I've seen brought up several times, and I noticed it. So it's worth addressing. I did get used to it really quickly, and by the time I was an hour in, I barely noticed it, and when I did notice it, it may have just been more that I was pissed off that I died. And you're gonna get frustrated. A lot. For as fun as the game actually is, it does have an unfortunate hard-on for infinite stunning enemy groups, from which there is no escape but the sweet, sweet release of death. And oftentimes, the secondary character that you've unlocked is effectively fucking useless. Like I mentioned, they're really just enemies from the levels previous, and they still have the same skill set. They don't gain any new abilities for having joined up with your side. So they're just as easy for the enemies to kill as they were for you to kill. And on the subject of bland infuriation features, fuck level 5-2. The entire area is naught but mobs of stun-locking enemies and the constant hell that is a randomly appearing, randomly generated drop of green shit falling from above, sometimes with no pipes for it to fall from, that also stuns you upon any hit. This level effectively needs a good lucky run to get through it, which marred what had otherwise been a fun if infuriating playthrough on stream. The art design is gratifyingly unique, a refreshing take on pixel graphics using an unusual sort of semi-forced perspective method without overcomplicating the 2D environments too far. The level detail is deep and creative. They breathe a lot of life into an otherwise shallow game. The soundtrack is on point. It fits the theme of the game perfectly. Though, I mean, come on guys. Completely silent menu screens and transition screens? Are you kidding? They're not a big deal, no, but it does show kind of a lack of polish. For $10, even with this amazing mess of a translation, the game felt totally worth my time and money, even though level 5-2 makes me want to chug antifreeze.